The fluorescent lights of the United Earth Defense Force recruitment center hummed with their usual monotonous drone as Emma Richardson stared at the digital terminal before her. At 23, she had come here with one simple goal: to apply for a desk position in the communications department. Her fingers hovered over the touchscreen, navigating through pages of bureaucratic forms that seemed designed to test one's patience rather than their qualifications. "Almost done," she muttered to herself, brushing a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. The last section glowed on the screen: position preference. She scrolled through the options: communications analyst, data entry specialist, administrative assistant. Perfect. She tapped on communications analyst. But in that moment, someone's child ran past her terminal, bumping into her elbow. Her finger slipped, and instead of confirming her selection, it dragged across the screen, landing squarely on a different option altogether: frontline combat specialist, immediate deployment. The screen flashed green. Application submitted. Report to Hangar Bay 7 at 0600 hours tomorrow. Congratulations, Recruit Richardson. Emma's eyes widened in horror. No, no, no. She frantically tapped the screen, searching for an undo button, a back arrow, anything. But the system had already processed her application and locked her in. A confirmation appeared on her wrist. Communicator with a sharp beep, she rushed to the service desk where a bored-looking sergeant sat, filing his nails. "Excuse me. There's been a terrible mistake. Take a number," he said without looking up. "But I accidentally— Number, please." Emma grabbed a digital ticket. Number 847. The display board showed they were currently serving number 203. Her heart sank. 16 hours later, Emma found herself standing in Hangar Bay 7, surrounded by hulking soldiers who looked like they ate concrete for breakfast. She had spent the entire night trying to reach someone, anyone who could fix the error. But the UEDF's automated systems were merciless. Every call led to another voicemail. Every email received an auto-reply. Due to the current conflict with the Zarathian coalition, all personnel assignments are final and non-negotiable. Richardson. A drill sergeant with a voice like grinding metal called her name. Front and center. Emma stepped forward, her civilian clothes looking absurdly out of place among the sea of combat fatigues. "Sir, I think there's been— I don't care what you think, Richardson. You signed up, you show up, you suit up. Now get to the armory." Before she could protest further, a hand gripped her shoulder. She turned to find a tall man with kind brown eyes and a jagged scar running down his left cheek. His name tag read, SGT Jackson Cole, first time? He asked with a slight smile. "This is all a mistake," Emma said quickly. "I was applying for communications, and I accidentally—" Jackson held up his hand. "Save it, I've heard every story. The system doesn't care how you got here." "But I do." He glanced at the drill sergeant, then back at her. "Look, you're shipping out in 2 hours whether you like it or not. The Zarathians just breached the outer rim. We need everybody we can get. So here's the deal. Stick close to me, do exactly what I say, and you might actually survive this." Emma felt tears prickling her eyes, but she blinked them back. She wasn't a soldier. She had never even held a gun. But looking into Jackson's eyes, she saw something that steadied her, genuine concern. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." The transport ship Valiant Dawn rocketed through the void toward the contested planet of Kepler 442b. Emma sat in the troop bay, her new combat armor feeling like a cage around her body. Jackson sat beside her, methodically checking his weapons. "You're not military," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. Emma shook her head. "I was studying to be a translator. I speak 7 languages. Jackson's eyebrows rose. "7? Which ones?" "English, Spanish, Mandarin, Arabic, Russian, Swahili, and I was learning Zarathian." Jackson stopped cleaning his rifle and turned to stare at her. "You speak Zarathian?" "A little. I took an online course. I find alien languages fascinating." For the first time, Jackson's expression shifted from concern to something else, interest. "Emma, that changes everything. We have almost no one who speaks Zarathian." Our translators are all AI-based and the Zarathians have been jamming them. Do you understand what this means? Emma shook her head. It means you're not just another rifle. You're an asset. A valuable one? The landing on Kepler 442b was nothing like the simulations they had shown in the brief orientation. The transport shook violently as plasma fire raked its hull. Emma's stomach lurched as they dropped through the atmosphere. The screech of re-entry mixing with the sound of alarms and shouted orders. They hit the ground hard. The rear hatch blew open, and suddenly Emma was running. Jackson's hand locked around her wrist, pulling her toward cover as explosions erupted around them. The landscape was a hellish mixture of purple vegetation and scorched earth, the sky an ominous shade of green. "Keep your head down," Jackson shouted over the din. They dove behind a fallen tree, its trunk as thick as a car. Around them, soldiers returned fire against an enemy. Emma could barely see, just flashes of silver armor and the whine of energy weapons. "Command, this is Eco Squad." Jackson spoke into his com. "We've got heavy resistance at the LZ. Requesting static." Their communications were dead. "Damn it," Jackson swore. He looked at Emma. "We need to reach that ridge." He pointed to a rocky outcrop about 300 meters away. "That's where the signal relay is. Without comms, we're sitting ducks." Emma's heart hammered in her chest. "I can't." "Yes, you can." Jackson's eyes locked onto hers. "I'll cover you." "Run in 3, 2, 1, go!" Emma ran. She ran faster than she ever had in her life, her lungs burning, her armor weighing her down. Energy bolts sizzled past her, turning the air around her into superheated plasma. She could hear Jackson's rifle barking behind her. Laying down covering fire, she was halfway to the ridge when she heard the cry. A Zarathian soldier had emerged from a crater. Weapon raised, aimed directly at Jackson's back. Without thinking, Emma screamed in Zarathian, "Krethak Norvalish! Stop or die!" The alien warrior froze, startled to hear his own language. That moment of hesitation was all Jackson needed. He spun and fired, and the Zarathian fell, but Emma's shout had done something else. It had drawn attention. Suddenly, a voice crackled over a frequency she didn't know her helmet could receive. It was speaking Zarathian. Who speaks the old tongue? "Identify yourself, human." Emma's translator training kicked in. She recognized the dialect. It was formal, military, but also curious, not threatening. "Not yet." She pressed the come button. "I am Emma Richardson. I seek no violence." "Why do we fight?" There was a long pause. Jackson had reached her position, his eyes wide with shock. "What are you doing?" "Trust me," Emma whispered. The Zarathian voice returned. "You speak our language with the accent of the scholars. How is this possible?" Emma's mind raced. She remembered something from her studies. Zarathian culture placed enormous value on education and intellectual pursuit. Warriors were respected, but scholars were revered. "I studied at the Academy of Linguistic Arts," she said, using the formal name she had learned. "I wish to understand your people, not destroy them." Another pause, longer this time. Around them, the fighting continued, but Emma felt something shifting. "The human who speaks seeks parley. Command has heard your words. Hold your position." "Emma, what did you just do?" Jackson asked, his voice a mixture of awe and terror. I think I just asked for a ceasefire." What followed was the longest 30 minutes of Emma's life. The Zarathian commander, a towering figure named Kriveth, emerged under a white flag, or rather the Zarathian equivalent, a holographic symbol of the 3 moons. Emma, with Jackson at her side and a dozen rifles trained on the alien, stepped forward to meet him. Through a combination of her broken Zarathian and Kriveth's broken English, the truth emerged. The war had started over a misunderstanding. A human mining corporation had established operations on what the Zarathians considered a sacred burial ground. Attempts to communicate had failed due to translation errors. The I-systems had mistranslated ancestors' resting place as unused territory. The Zarathians believed humanity was deliberately desecrating their dead. The humans believed the Zarathians were aggressively expanding their territory. Emma listened, translated, and explained. She showed Krivith the human perspective, and she helped Jackson and the other soldiers understand the Zarathian view. Slowly, painfully, common ground emerged. "We didn't know," Jackson said, and Emma translated with every ounce of sincerity she could muster. "If we had known, we never would have built there. We honor our dead too. We would never mock yours." Krivith's multifaceted eyes like prismatic jewels studied Jackson for a long moment. Then he spoke, and Emma translated, "Perhaps our peoples are not so different. Perhaps this war was born of ignorance, not malice. The ceasefire that day didn't end the war, but it planted a seed." Emma became the primary liaison between human and Zarathian forces, her accidental deployment turning into the most important assignment of the entire conflict. Over the next 6 months, she worked tirelessly, translating not just words but cultures, helping both sides see each other not as monsters but as beings with hopes, fears, and families. Jackson remained by her side throughout, her protector and eventually her friend. They had been thrown together by chance by a wrong button press on a terminal, but they had found purpose together. When the peace treaty was finally signed on the neutral station of Harmony Point, Emma stood on the stage beside diplomats and generals, feeling completely out of place in her dress uniform. She had never wanted to be a soldier. She had never wanted to be a hero, but when the Secretary General of the United Earth Defense Force pinned the Star of Valor to her chest, the highest honor given to non-combatants, she finally understood something. Sometimes, the universe puts you exactly where you need to be, even if it takes a wrong button press to get you there. Jackson found her later, standing at an observation window, watching the stars. "You know," he said, standing beside her, "I've been thinking about that day in the hangar. When you said it was all a mistake." Emma smiled. Was it though?" Jackson turned to look at her. "Because of that mistake, thousands of lives were saved. 2 civilizations found peace. I'm not sure I believe in fate, but maybe some mistakes are meant to happen," Emma finished. Jackson nodded. "So what now? Going back to that communications desk job?" Emma laughed, the sound genuine and free. "Actually, I've been offered a position in the newly formed Interspecies Relations Department. They want me to help establish first contact protocols. Make sure this kind of misunderstanding never happens again." "That sounds perfect for you. What about you?" Jackson's scarred face split into a grin. "Turns out I'm being assigned as security chief for that same department. Apparently, they think these diplomatic missions might need someone who can handle themselves in a fight." Emma felt warmth spread through her chest. "So we'll be working together?" "Looks that way." Jackson extended his hand. "Partners?" Emma took his hand, feeling the calluses earned from battle, the strength that had protected her. "Partners." As they shook hands, sealing their new beginning, Emma thought about the chain of events that had led her here. A bumped elbow, a slipped finger, a wrong button press. The smallest actions could change everything. And sometimes, she thought as she looked at Jackson's smiling face and the stars beyond the window, sometimes those changes were exactly what the universe needed. The wrong button press had sent her to the war front, but she had returned with so much more than a medal. She had returned with purpose, with friendship, and with the knowledge that even mistakes could become miracles.